Every bond begins with a story, and this one will leave you in tears. In a quiet suburban neighborhood, a young blind boy named Liam found himself trapped in a world of darkness, where loneliness was his only companion. But when a weak, abandoned puppy stumbled into his life, neither could have predicted how their connection would change everything. This is the tale of an unbreakable friendship forged in adversity that would defy all odds. Liam had been blind since birth, his world painted in shades of sound and texture. Despite his cheerful demeanor, life had not been kind to him. Other children often avoided him, unsure of how to connect, leaving him isolated. His mother, Sarah, a single parent, did everything she could to nurture his independence, but her heart broke every time she caught him sitting alone, quietly humming to fill the silence. One rainy afternoon, fate intervened. Liam and Sarah were walking home from the grocery store when they heard a faint whimper coming from a nearby alley. It was weak, almost drowned out by the rain. Curious, Liam tugged at his mother's hand. "What's that sound, Mom?" he asked, his unseeing eyes wide with curiosity. Sarah hesitated but followed the sound. There, shivering under a piece of cardboard, was a tiny, emaciated puppy with fur so matted it was hard to tell its color. Its ribs were visible through its thin coat, and its eyes held a mix of fear and desperation. "Can we help him?" Liam asked, his voice trembling with both excitement and concern. Sarah sighed, knowing the challenges of taking in a stray, but she couldn't bear to say no. "We'll try," she said softly. Back home, the puppy was bathed, fed, and nestled in a warm blanket. Liam sat beside it, his small hands gently running over its frail body. "I'll call you Scout," he whispered, as the dog licked his hand tentatively. It was the first spark of trust. Little did they know, this chance encounter was the beginning of a journey that would push them both to the limits of courage and resilience. Together, they would face challenges neither could have imagined, proving that even the most fragile souls can rise stronger when they stand together. The first few days with Scout were a whirlwind for Liam and his mother, Sarah. The frail puppy, barely strong enough to lift its head, required constant care. Sarah spent hours feeding Scout small amounts of warm broth, while Liam never left the dog's side, his hands constantly exploring Scout's fur. Liam's fingers found every detail, the ridges of the puppy's ribs, the uneven patches of its fur, and the fragile warmth of its heartbeat. These tactile moments forged an unspoken connection between the boy and the animal. Scout, once wary of every sound and movement, slowly began to relax in Liam's presence. The dog would nuzzle against Liam's hand whenever he reached out, as if understanding that the boy, too, needed comfort. Sarah watched their bond grow with a mixture of awe and trepidation. Liam had always been an empathetic child, but the way he seemed to instinctively know what Scout needed was extraordinary. "Mom, do you think he was abandoned?" Liam asked one evening as Scout lay curled up at his feet. Sarah hesitated, not wanting to burden her son with the harshness of the world. "Maybe," she said softly. "But now he's with us, and we'll make sure he's safe." The days turned into weeks, and Scout's transformation was remarkable. His once patchy fur became smooth and shiny, and his energy returned in bursts of playful enthusiasm. Despite being blind, Liam took on many of the responsibilities of caring for Scout. He learned to fill the water bowl by feel and toss Scout's favorite toy, a small plush ball, in the backyard. Scout would always return it, nudging it into Liam's hands with gentle persistence. One sunny afternoon, Sarah watched from the porch as Liam sat on the grass, laughing as Scout licked his face. It was a sound she hadn't heard in a long time. For years, Liam's laughter had been subdued, almost as if he feared drawing attention to himself. But now, it was full and uninhibited, echoing through the yard. However, life with Scout wasn't without challenges. Liam's blindness made certain tasks difficult, and Scout, still young and untrained, often caused minor chaos around the house. There were overturned bowls, chewed-up shoes, and more than one instance of Scout accidentally pulling a chair over in his excitement. One day, Liam and Sarah took Scout for a walk to the nearby park. It was their first real outing together, and Liam held Scout's leash tightly as Sarah guided them. Scout was curious and excitable, sniffing every patch of grass and barking at passing squirrels. But something unexpected happened that day. A group of children approached them, their curiosity piqued by the energetic puppy. "Can we pet him?" one of the children asked, looking at Sarah. Sarah glanced at Liam, who nodded eagerly. "Of course," she said, smiling, as the children gathered around Scout. Their questions turned to Liam. "How can you take care of a dog if you can't see?" one of them asked innocently. Liam didn't hesitate. "I might not see Scout the way you do, but I feel him," he said, his hands gently stroking the dog's back. And he feels me too. We understand each other. The children seemed satisfied with his answer and spent the next several minutes playing with Scout. For the first time in years, Liam wasn't the boy who was different, he was just another kid with a dog. Sarah's heart swelled with pride and gratitude as she watched her son laugh and interact with his peers. That evening, as they walked home, Liam spoke softly to Scout. "You're my best friend, you know that? I don't care what anyone says. You're not just a dog, you're my hero." Sarah overheard and felt a lump rise in her throat. Scout had done more than bring joy to their lives. He had given Liam a sense of purpose and confidence that she hadn't seen since he was a toddler. But the bond between Liam and Scout was about to be tested in ways they couldn't foresee. As Scout grew stronger, his instincts began to emerge, particularly his protective nature. It started with small things, barking at the mail carrier, standing between Liam and an overly enthusiastic dog at the park. Sarah noticed the change and wondered if Scout could sense Liam's vulnerability. One afternoon, while Sarah was in the kitchen and Liam was playing with Scout in the backyard, a loud commotion erupted. Sarah rushed outside to find Scout barking furiously at the gate, his body rigid and his tail high. On the other side of the gate stood a large dog, growling and pacing aggressively. "Liam, stay back," Sarah called out, her voice shaking as she grabbed a broom to shoo the stray dog away. But before she could act, Scout did something remarkable. He positioned himself between Liam and the gate, barking with a ferocity Sarah had never seen. The stray dog hesitated, then slowly backed away before disappearing into the bushes. Sarah dropped the broom, her hands trembling. Scout turned to Liam and nuzzled his leg, as if to reassure him. "What happened, Mom?" Liam asked, sensing the tension in her voice. "Scout protected you," Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. "He protected all of us." From that day forward, Sarah realized that Scout wasn't just a pet, he was a guardian. And while Liam couldn't see the bravery in Scout's eyes, he could feel it in every wag of his tail and every lick of his hand. The incident with the stray dog marked a turning point for Scout and Liam's bond. Scout's protective instincts grew stronger, and Liam began to rely on him in ways he hadn't before. At home, Scout seemed to sense when Liam needed him, guiding him around furniture or nudging him toward his favorite chair. When Liam dropped an item, Scout would retrieve it, placing it carefully in his lap. "Mom, I think Scout's like a superhero," Liam declared one evening as they sat on the couch. "He always knows what I need." Sarah smiled, watching her son scratch behind Scout's ears. "He's certainly special, Liam, but you've worked hard to take care of him too. He's your partner." This partnership soon faced its first real test. One weekend, Sarah decided to take Liam and Scout to a local training event for service dogs. She thought it might be a good opportunity for Scout to learn new skills and for Liam to meet other children with similar challenges. The event was held at a large park, bustling with people, dogs of every size, and trainers giving demonstrations. As they arrived, Liam clung tightly to Scout's leash, his other hand gripping Sarah's arm. The noise and activity were overwhelming, but Scout remained calm, his ears perked as he took in the surroundings. A trainer approached them, a cheerful woman named Emily, who knelt to greet Scout. "This must be Scout," Emily said, extending her hand for the dog to sniff. "He's beautiful. Are you here to see if he can become a service dog?" Liam hesitated, then nodded. "He's already amazing, but maybe he can learn more." Emily chuckled. "Well, let's see what he can do." The first few exercises were straightforward, walking in a straight line, following basic commands, and staying calm in a crowd. Scout performed admirably, much to Liam's delight. But when it came to more advanced tasks, such as navigating through obstacles or retrieving specific items, Scout hesitated. He would look to Liam for guidance, and when none came, he seemed unsure of himself. "It's okay, buddy," Liam said softly, kneeling beside Scout. "We'll figure it out together." Emily observed their interaction with a thoughtful expression. "Scout has incredible potential, but he needs more training to understand how to guide you, Liam. And you'll need to learn how to communicate with him more effectively." Liam's shoulders sagged slightly, but he nodded. "I want to try." Over the next few weeks, Liam and Scout began attending regular training sessions with Emily. These sessions were challenging for both of them. Scout had to learn to ignore distractions and focus solely on Liam's commands, while Liam had to develop confidence in giving clear instructions. There were moments of frustration. Scout occasionally became distracted, and Liam struggled to convey his needs, but there were also triumphs, like the day Scout successfully led Liam through a maze of cones without bumping into a single one. "You're amazing, Scout," Liam exclaimed, throwing his arms around the dog. Scout wagged his tail furiously, licking Liam's face in response. Despite their progress, there was one task Scout couldn't seem to master: guiding Liam across busy intersections. The sounds of cars and honking horns overwhelmed Scout, making him freeze in place. Emily explained that this was a common challenge for young dogs, especially those who had experienced trauma. "It'll take time," she reassured Liam. "But you're doing everything right. Just keep building that trust." One afternoon, after a particularly tough session, Liam sat on the porch steps, his head bowed. Scout rested his chin on Liam's knee, his eyes filled with concern. "Do you think I'm asking too much from you?" Liam whispered, his fingers gently tracing the shape of Scout's ears. "Maybe you'd be happier just being a regular dog." Sarah overheard and knelt beside her son. "Liam, Scout doesn't see this as a burden. He sees it as his purpose, and his learning, just like you are. Don't give up on him." Liam nodded, wiping his eyes. "I won't." The next morning brought an unexpected surprise. As Liam and Scout practiced in the backyard, a knock came at the door. Sarah opened it to find a man holding a uniform. He introduced himself as Officer Daniels, a local police officer who had heard about Scout's progress from Emily. "I've been following Scout's story," Officer Daniels explained. "He's got the makings of a great working dog. I'd like to help with his training, if you'll let me." Liam was thrilled at the idea of Scout learning from a real police officer. Over the next few weeks, Officer Daniels introduced Scout to new exercises, such as tracking scents and responding to emergency commands. These sessions not only improved Scout's skills but also boosted Liam's confidence. He began to see himself not as a burden but as an active participant in Scout's training. One day, during a tracking exercise, Scout did something extraordinary. Officer Daniels had hidden an item in the park, and Scout was tasked with finding it. Liam held the leash tightly, giving the command to find it. Scout sniffed the ground, his tail wagging as he followed the scent trail. Within minutes, he stopped and barked, his nose pointing to a small pouch buried under some leaves. "You did it, Scout." Liam cheered, throwing his arms around the dog. Officer Daniels smiled, nodding in approval. "That's not just talent," he said. "That's a bond you can't teach." But as Scout's training progressed, new challenges loomed on the horizon. The bond between Liam and Scout would soon be tested in ways they couldn't anticipate, and their journey together was far from over. Liam and Scout's bond had grown stronger through their shared training, but life wasn't done testing them. One crisp autumn morning, Sarah decided they should all take a trip to the city, a rare outing for their small family. The idea both excited and terrified Liam. The city was a cacophony of noise and movement, a stark contrast to their quiet suburban neighborhood. Scout, too, had never been exposed to such a bustling environment. "Are you sure about this, Mom?" Liam asked, his voice tinged with apprehension as he clipped Scout's leash to his harness. Sarah knelt beside him, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You've been working so hard with Scout. This is a chance to see how far you've come, and I'll be right here if you need me." The journey into the city was uneventful at first. Liam sat quietly in the back seat of the car, one hand gripping Scout's leash while the other rested on the dog's head. Scout leaned into Liam's touch, his steady presence a source of comfort. When they arrived, the city's noise hit them like a tidal wave. Cars honked, people chattered loudly, and the distant wail of a siren added to the chaos. Liam clutched Scout's leash tightly, his other hand instinctively reaching for Sarah's. "Deep breaths, Liam," Sarah said softly. "Remember, Scout is here to help you." Scout's ears flicked at the noise, his posture alert but calm. With Sarah's guidance, they began to navigate the crowded sidewalks. Liam tried to focus on Scout's steady movements, trusting the dog to guide him around obstacles. Things seemed to be going well until they reached a busy intersection. The crosswalk light had just turned red, and the sound of revving engines filled the air. Scout froze, his body rigid as he stared at the traffic. "It's okay, Scout," Liam whispered, his voice wavering. "We've got this." But Scout didn't move. The noise was too overwhelming, and his instincts to protect Liam clashed with his fear of the chaotic environment. Sarah stepped in, gently leading them across the street while Scout hesitated. Once they were safely on the other side, Liam crouched down beside Scout, his hands shaking. "You were scared, weren't you?" he murmured, stroking the dog's fur. "It's okay. I get scared too." Scout nuzzled Liam's hand, as if apologizing for freezing. Sarah watched the interaction with a mix of pride and concern. "You both handled that really well," she said. "It's okay to be scared. What matters is that you didn't give up." Their next destination was a large park nestled in the heart of the city. It was quieter there, the noise of traffic muted by the rustle of trees and the chatter of children playing nearby. Liam and Scout practiced their training exercises, walking in straight lines, stopping on command, and navigating around obstacles. Scout seemed to regain his confidence, his tail wagging as he completed each task. Liam, too, began to relax, his earlier anxiety fading as he focused on their routine. But just as they were finishing, an unexpected challenge arose. A small group of teenagers was playing frisbee nearby, their laughter echoing through the park. One of them, a boy about Liam's age, accidentally threw the frisbee too hard. It soared through the air, landing just a few feet from Scout. The dog's ears perked up, and before Liam could react, Scout bolted toward the frisbee, his instincts as a playful pup taking over. "Scout, no!" Liam called out, panic rising in his chest. He stumbled forward, nearly losing his grip on the leash. Scout reached the frisbee and picked it up, his tail wagging triumphantly. But as he turned back toward Liam, he suddenly stopped, his body tense. A large dog had approached, its stance aggressive. The other dog growled, baring its teeth. "Scout!" Liam shouted, his voice breaking. Sarah rushed to Liam's side, her heart pounding as she saw the scene unfold. But before she could act, something extraordinary happened. Scout didn't cower or bark back. Instead, he stepped in front of the growling dog, placing the frisbee on the ground as a gesture of submission. Then, slowly and deliberately, he lowered himself into a sitting position, his tail wagging gently. The other dog hesitated, its growl fading. It sniffed the frisbee, then turned and trotted away, its aggression diffused. Scout picked up the frisbee again and trotted back to Liam, his eyes bright and proud. "You did it, Scout," Liam whispered, tears streaming down his face as he hugged the dog tightly. "You're my hero." The incident left a deep impression on both Liam and Sarah. Scout's actions had shown not just courage but a remarkable understanding of how to de-escalate a dangerous situation. It was clear that their bond had reached a new level, one built on mutual trust and instinct. As they headed back to the car, Sarah placed a hand on Liam's shoulder. "You've come so far, both of you. I'm so proud." Liam smiled, his heart swelling with gratitude. "We couldn't have done it without each other." The ride home was quieter than usual, the events of the day still fresh in their minds. Scout lay in the back seat, with his head resting on Liam's lap, his eyes half closed in contentment. Liam's fingers idly traced patterns in Scout's fur as he replayed the scene in the park. "Mom," Liam said softly, breaking the silence, "do you think Scout will ever stop being scared of loud places like the city?" Sarah glanced at him through the rearview mirror, her expression thoughtful. "I think Scout's like you, Liam. He just needs time and practice. He's learning, just like you are." Liam considered her words, feeling a spark of determination. "Then I'll help him," he said firmly. "We'll figure it out together." Over the next few weeks, Liam dedicated himself to Scout's training with renewed focus. Every morning, they practiced their commands in the backyard, navigating obstacles that Sarah set up to mimic real-world challenges. In the afternoons, they ventured into busier areas, a local park with more foot traffic, the quiet edge of a shopping center, gradually exposing Scout to new sights and sounds. At first, Scout was hesitant, his ears flicking nervously, and he often looked to Liam for reassurance. But each time they faced a new challenge, Liam's calm voice and steady hand guided him through. Their bond grew stronger with every small victory, each shared moment of trust. One afternoon, Sarah suggested they visit the local farmer's market. It was a vibrant, bustling place filled with colorful stalls, the aroma of fresh produce, and the hum of conversations. For Scout, it was another step toward overcoming his fears. "This is going to be our biggest challenge yet," Liam said as he clipped Scout's leash onto his harness. "But I know we can do it." The market was alive with activity. Vendors called out their specials, children laughed as they ran between stalls, and a street musician played a lively tune on his guitar. Scout's ears twitched, his body tense as he took in the unfamiliar environment. Liam could feel the dog's anxiety through the leash and gently placed a hand on Scout's head. "You're okay, buddy," he said softly. "I'm right here." They moved slowly through the market, weaving between stalls and pausing frequently to let Scout adjust. Liam kept his focus on Scout, his voice a constant source of reassurance. Gradually, Scout's movements became more confident, his tail wagging slightly as he explored the bustling scene. But their progress was interrupted when a loud crash echoed through the market. A vendor had accidentally knocked over a stack of crates, sending a cascade of apples rolling across the ground. Scout froze, his body stiff and his ears pinned back. "It's okay, Scout," Liam said, crouching beside him. It's just some apples. See? Nothing to worry about. Scout glanced at Liam, his dark eyes searching for guidance. Slowly, he stepped forward, sniffing cautiously at one of the apples. Liam smiled, reaching out to scratch behind Scout's ears. That's my brave boy. Their interaction caught the attention of a nearby vendor, an elderly man with kind eyes and a wide-brimmed hat. He approached them, holding out an apple. Your dog's got a lot of heart, he said with a smile. It's not easy for animals to stay calm in a place like this. Liam accepted the apple and held it out for Scout, who sniffed it before gently taking it in his mouth. He's learning, Liam said, pride evident in his voice. We both are. As they continued through the market, Liam noticed people watching them, their expressions a mix of admiration and curiosity. Some approached to compliment Scout or ask about their training, while others simply smiled as they passed by. For Liam, it was a reminder of how far they had come and how much further they could go. Back at home, Liam and Scout settled into their usual routine. Liam lay on the living room floor, a book in his lap, as Scout dozed beside him. Sarah watched them from the doorway, her heart swelling with pride. She couldn't help but marvel at the transformation she had witnessed over the past few months. You've grown so much, Liam, she said, breaking the comfortable silence. Not just as Scout's trainer, but as a person. You found a strength I didn't know you had. Liam looked up, a shy smile on his face. It's because of Scout. He makes me want to be better. Sarah knelt beside them, her hand resting on Liam's shoulder. You've given each other something special. Don't ever forget that. As Liam stroked Scout's fur, he felt a deep sense of gratitude. The dog wasn't just his guide, he was his partner, his confidant, and his source of courage. Together, they had faced challenges that once seemed insurmountable, and each triumph brought them closer to their ultimate goal. Tomorrow, Liam said quietly, more to himself than anyone else, we're going to try something new. Something big. Sarah raised an eyebrow, curiosity flickering in her eyes. What do you have in mind? Liam's smile grew, a mix of excitement and determination lighting up his face. You'll see. The next morning, Liam was up earlier than usual, excitement coursing through him. Today was the day they would tackle their biggest challenge yet, navigating the downtown transit station. It was a place Liam had always avoided, a chaotic maze of trains, announcements, and hurried commuters. But he knew this step was crucial if he wanted to gain true independence, with Scout by his side. Are you sure about this, Liam? Sarah asked as she helped him prepare. The station can be overwhelming, even for people without challenges. Liam nodded, his jaw set with determination. If we can handle this, we can handle anything, right, Scout? Scout wagged his tail, his eyes bright as he waited by the door. Sarah sighed, a mix of pride and concern evident in her expression. All right. Just remember to take it slow and trust each other. The drive to the station was quiet. Liam focused on the rhythmic sound of Scout's breathing. He reminded himself of everything they had practiced, the commands, the trust, the bond they had built. Scout was ready for this, and so was he. When they arrived, the station was just as intimidating as Liam had imagined. The roar of arriving trains echoed through the massive hall, mingling with the cacophony of footsteps and muffled conversations. Announcements blared over the intercom, their words lost in the noise. Scout's ears twitched nervously, his tail lowering slightly as he took in the chaos. You've got this, buddy, Liam said, gripping the leash tightly. Just stick with me. They started slowly, weaving through the crowd with Sarah close behind. Scout hesitated at first, his movements cautious as he guided Liam around obstacles. Liam could feel the tension in the dog's body and tried to project calm through his voice and touch. Good boy, Scout, he said softly. You're doing great. Their progress was steady, but the station's noise and energy made it hard to focus. At one point, a train pulled into the platform with a deafening screech, and Scout froze, his body trembling. Liam crouched beside him, his own heart racing. It's okay, Scout, he whispered, stroking the dog's fur. We'll take a break. They moved to a quieter corner of the station, where Scout could catch his breath. Liam felt a pang of frustration. This was harder than he had expected, and for a moment, doubt crept in. So you don't have to do this all at once, Sarah said gently, placing a hand on his shoulder. It's okay to take it one step at a time. But Liam shook his head, determination flaring in his chest. No, we can do this. I know we can. After a few minutes, they tried again. This time, Scout seemed more composed, his ears swiveling as he adjusted to the environment. Liam focused on the commands, guiding Scout through the bustling station with as much confidence as he could muster. Their biggest test came when they reached the platform. The sound of trains rushing past and the press of the crowd made it a chaotic and overwhelming space. Scout hesitated at the edge, his body tense as he looked back at Liam. "You can do this," Liam said firmly, giving the leash a gentle tug. "I believe in you." Scout took a hesitant step forward, then another, his trust in Liam overriding his fear. They reached the designated waiting area, and Liam let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "That's my boy," he said, scratching behind Scout's ears. "We did it." The sense of triumph was short-lived, however. As they waited, a man hurried past them, his bag swinging wildly. It hit Scout's side, startling him. The dog let out a yelp and backed away, his eyes wide with fear. The man didn't even notice, disappearing into the crowd without a second glance. "Scout!" Liam called, panic creeping into his voice. He felt the leash pull taut as Scout tried to retreat. "It's okay, buddy. I'm here." But Scout's fear had taken hold, and he refused to move. Liam's heart sank as he realized the setback. They had worked so hard to build Scout's confidence, and now it felt like they were back to square one. Sarah stepped in, her voice calm but firm. "Let's give him a moment, Liam. He needs to feel safe again." Liam nodded, crouching beside Scout and speaking to him in soothing tones. "I'm sorry, boy. I should have been ready for that. You're safe now. I promise." Scout's trembling began to subside, and he tentatively nuzzled Liam's hand. The moment was bittersweet, a reminder of how fragile progress could be, but also of the unbreakable bond they shared. As they made their way back to the car, Liam couldn't shake the feeling of defeat. But Sarah, ever the optimist, offered words of encouragement. "Every challenge is an opportunity to grow. Look at how far you've come, Liam. This is just one bump in the road." Liam nodded, determination rekindling in his chest. "We'll try again tomorrow," he said, his voice steady. "Scout and I don't give up." The ride home from the transit station was heavier than Liam had anticipated. He sat in the back seat, stroking Scout's head, his fingers idly tracing the shape of the harness strap. The fear and hesitation Scout had shown earlier replayed in his mind, each moment chipping away at the pride Liam had felt. Scout leaned into his touch, offering a quiet reassurance that Liam barely noticed. "You're quiet," Sarah said from the driver's seat, her voice gentle but probing. Liam sighed, slumping slightly. "I thought we were ready. I thought we could do it." Sarah glanced at him through the rearview mirror, her expression soft. "You're being too hard on yourself. Progress isn't always a straight line, Liam. You're doing something incredible, and setbacks are part of the process." "I know," Liam said, his voice barely above a whisper. "But it's hard not to feel like I let him down." Scout, as if sensing Liam's turmoil, nuzzled his hand and let out a low, comforting whine. Liam smiled faintly, rubbing the dog's ears. "Thanks, buddy." When they got home, Sarah suggested they take the evening to relax. "No training today," she said firmly. "Both of you need a break." Liam nodded, though he couldn't quite shake the feeling of failure. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Liam found himself sitting on the porch with Scout at his feet. The rhythmic chirping of crickets filled the air, a soothing backdrop to his thoughts. "You know, Scout," Liam began, his voice steady but introspective, "Mom's right. We've come a long way, haven't we? Remember when you wouldn't even go near the crosswalk without freaking out? Now look at us, navigating busy stations. Well, sort of." Scout tilted his head, his expressive eyes seeming to listen. Liam chuckled softly, feeling a flicker of warmth in his chest. "We're not giving up, not on each other." The next morning, Sarah surprised Liam with an idea. "I was thinking," she said over breakfast, "maybe we should change things up a bit, focus on something different for a while." Liam frowned. "Like what?" "There's a therapy center downtown that works with service animals," Sarah explained. "They have sessions where trainers and dogs can practice in controlled environments. It might be a good way to rebuild Scout's confidence without the pressure of a busy station." Liam hesitated, his mind racing with doubts. "Do you think that's what we need, another training program?" Sarah placed a hand on his shoulder. "It's not about more training, Liam. It's about giving you both a safe space to grow together." After some thought, Liam agreed, and they scheduled a session for the following day. When they arrived at the center, they were greeted by a cheerful instructor named Claire. She was a tall woman with an easy smile and a way of making people feel instantly at ease. "Liam and Scout, right?" she said, kneeling to pet Scout, who sniffed her hand cautiously before wagging his tail. "You've got a good boy here, I can tell." "Thanks," Liam said, a hint of pride returning to his voice. The session began with simple exercises, walking in a figure eight, practicing stops and starts, and navigating small obstacles. Scout performed well, his confidence seemingly bolstered by the calm and controlled environment. Liam felt a weight lifting from his shoulders with each successful command. Midway through the session, Claire introduced a new challenge, guiding Scout through a mock street setup, complete with crosswalks, traffic noises, and pedestrians. "This will mimic the kinds of situations you'll face in the real world," she explained. Liam nodded, gripping Scout's leash tightly. "We're ready." Scout hesitated at the first crosswalk, his ears flicking nervously at the sound of simulated traffic. Liam knelt beside him, speaking in a low, reassuring tone. "It's just like before, buddy. You've got this." After a few moments, Scout stepped forward, his movements tentative but deliberate. They navigated the crosswalk successfully, and Liam felt a surge of pride. "That's my boy," he said, scratching behind Scout's ears. "You're amazing." Claire clapped from the sidelines, her encouragement infectious. "You two make a great team. Keep it up." By the end of the session, Liam and Scout had tackled every challenge with growing confidence. Claire approached them with a smile, handing Liam a small certificate. "This is just a little token to celebrate how far you've come today. You should be proud." Liam took the certificate, a grin spreading across his face. "Thank you. This means a lot." As they left the center, Liam felt a renewed sense of hope. The weight of the previous day's failure had lifted, replaced by the realization that progress was a journey, not a destination. Scout trotted beside him, his tail wagging, as if to say, "We've got this." That evening, Liam sat with Scout in their usual spot on the porch. The stars twinkled above, and the air was filled with the soothing hum of the night. "We're going to get there, Scout," Liam said, stroking the dog's fur. "One step at a time." Scout leaned into him, a contented sigh escaping his lips. Together, they watched the night unfold, their bond stronger than ever. The following week, Liam and Scout settled into a routine of attending the training sessions at the therapy center. Each day brought small victories. Scout mastered stopping at intersections without hesitation, ignoring distractions like barking dogs or loud honks. Liam found himself growing more confident in his role as a handler, realizing that his calm demeanor was the key to guiding Scout. One afternoon, Claire approached them as they wrapped up a session. "Liam," she said, her voice warm but serious, "I've been observing your progress, and I think it's time to introduce a real-world challenge." Liam stiffened slightly, his mind flashing back to the chaotic transit station. "What kind of challenge?" "There's an outdoor market downtown," Claire explained. "It's busy, but not overwhelming, with plenty of controlled spaces. It's the perfect place for you and Scout to test what you've learned. I'll be nearby, just in case." Liam hesitated, glancing at Scout. The dog sat attentively by his side, his expressive eyes filled with trust. "Do you think we're ready?" Claire smiled. "Absolutely. You and Scout have come so far, and I know you can handle it." Later that evening, Liam shared the plan with Sarah. "An outdoor market," she said, her voice tinged with concern. "That's a big step." "I know," Liam replied, his side stroking Scout's fur. "But I think we're ready. It's time to push ourselves." The next morning, the market buzzed with life. The air was filled with the mingling aromas of fresh bread, spices, and roasted coffee. Vendors called out their wares, and families weaved. Through the stalls, their laughter mixing with the chatter of the crowd. Liam gripped Scout's harness tightly, his other hand resting on his white cane. "Deep breaths," Claire reminded him, her voice steady. "Take it one step at a time." Liam nodded, adjusting his posture. "Let's do this, Scout." They stepped into the crowd, Scout leading the way with measured precision. The dog's ears flicked as he navigated the obstacles, shopping bags swinging at knee level, children darting around, and the occasional bicycle zipping past. Liam focused on his breathing, trusting Scout to guide him. "Good boy," Liam murmured, as they stopped at a corner where two paths intersected. Scout wagged his tail, clearly pleased with his performance. For a while, everything went smoothly. Vendors greeted them warmly, and a few passers-by complimented Scout's behavior. Liam felt a growing sense of pride, his earlier doubts melting away. But then, the unexpected happened. A sudden commotion erupted near one of the stalls, a child's voice cried out, followed by the sound of crashing produce crates. Liam tensed, his grip tightening on Scout's harness. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice sharp with concern. Before Claire could respond, Liam felt a small hand grab his arm. "Mister, help," a boy's voice pleaded, trembling with fear. Liam turned toward the voice, his heart racing. "What's wrong?" "My sister, she's blind like you, and she's lost. She let go of my hand, and I can't find her," the boy cried. Liam's mind raced. "What's her name?" "Emma," the boy said, sniffling. "She's 8. Liam knelt down, placing a reassuring hand on the boy's shoulder. "We'll find her, okay? Stay close to me." He turned to Claire, who had stepped up beside him. "Can you alert the vendors and ask if anyone's seen her?" Claire nodded and rushed off, leaving Liam and Scout to act. Liam adjusted Scout's harness. "Scout, find Emma," he commanded, his voice steady but urgent. Scout sniffed the air, his tail wagging as he picked up on the unfamiliar scent. Without hesitation, the dog began weaving.